All right, I'm super excited to do this review. Before anything gets started, I want to make sure that you guys know this will be a spoiler alert review. So if you have not checked out the movie just yet, make sure you go do yourself the justice. Make sure you go and experience this movie in all its glory. If you're a John Wick fan, make sure you definitely catch this one because we're going to be talking about everything. So here we are once again, John Wick, one of my movie franchises that I've come to like grow and love. I did not realize when I first watched the first one that I was gonna really fall so deep in love with this movie. And the fact that it's become this entire franchise and we have four installments already, it's been an amazing ride. It's been a amazing story being told over four movies so far that I couldn't even know what to expect on this fourth one coming in. But really, all I knew is that these guys have not only made sure that the last couple movies have been amazing, choreography has been amazing, acting has been amazing, writing has been amazing. Everything you can ask for an action flick has been delivered. John Wick 4 has to be one of the greatest action movies so far. This movie was really amazing. From the first couple scenes coming in, you got to really understand what exactly we were about to watch. John Wick finally comes into the scene and boom, automatically he's already setting the tone for the movie. No time being wasted in this flick for sure. From the moment we get in, from the moment we leave, it's just nothing but action. More action, more action, more action. It's actually filled with so much action. You're so like kind of gotta catch a breath almost with the dialogues, and there's not even much being said, but it's just all of this choreography, all of these fighting sequences, all this shooting just happening already back to back to back to back. You could even say that it becomes exhausting at times in a good way. In a good way. I know sometimes that can come off in a negative way, but I'm telling you, this movie was freaking amazing. With that being said, a lot of the action sequences will not have dialogue. They do not stop to take a break and talk. There is moments here and there where they will kind of have a breather, and John Wick, you can really see like, whoa, like how is he not tired from this like kill streak? But there is moments where he will catch his breath. But for the most part, it is him just kind of battling out with enemy after enemy after enemy. And I gotta say, this time around, a lot of the choreography was kind of fluid. It was really going for the momentum. You could really tell the kind of love and care that was put into every single action scene, every single scene that was happening. Like every movement was kind of purposely done, and it felt amazing. I gotta say, from the past movies to this movie, he has done nothing but hard work, and you can really tell on the big screen there. One of the first locations they go to is in Osaka, Japan. This is one of the hotels that he goes to find refugees, kind of find one of the, his friends to finally help him out, at least the last friends that he has. And with that being said, you know what it is to kind of help John Wick. He's already been excommunicado, and now he's coming for somebody for help, and immediately again the action starts, like, and these guys just kind of storm in this area, and here's Keanu Reeves like, man, I need your help, I need you to do this for me. And then the manager of the hotel for the Japan, he also played Scorpion. If you guys have seen Mortal Kombat, like, it's a great fit for him to be here, and he just ends up helping John Wick. And with that help, you already know, comes a bunch of package coming in for that. So immediately we get started, and it just brings a big smile on my face that there's so much going on already, that the fact that I'm not wasting any time with this is really great. This is one of those movies that, like, if you've been a fan for so long, you're really gonna enjoy this. With no dialogue happening in the action sequences, there is kind of comedic timing in there, like especially when they're in the hotel and then John Wick has to pick up some nunchucks because he's ran out of ammo, and he's kind of just whipping these bad guys in the head, and there's kind of like this moment where he's kind of hitting the guy in the head, and it's like, the audience starts laughing. At least my theater started laughing in those moments, because it is that kind of like old school, no dialogue happening, black and white, like cartoonish comedic timing. Like, it kind of tells a story in itself when you're looking at it. There isn't things that need to be said. It's just things that are happening. You visualizing things. It's kind of like the ridiculousness of it is just, It's so funny, and the fact that they definitely go into that they allow themselves to go there and say, hey, we're not going to take ourselves too seriously here. It's not going to be a straight up like precise murder, because nothing is, you know. I'm sure when you're in a fight, things go wrong, things are just funny, you know. And it's this is exactly what happened there, and this is the moment where the choreographers definitely did that. They really fell into that, and they really fell into making like a comedy out of it as well, especially because no dialogue is being used here. Keanu Reeves has learned all these new moves and all this new arsenal with him, and how can we even develop that? How can we make this even more of what it is, you know? And definitely adding those moments to that really showed how broad of an action movie this has become. And I gotta say, Keanu Reeves with those nunchuck was going crazy. It wasn't one of those moments where he just kind of picked it up and he just like had it for a couple kills. No, he had it for a while. Like, he had those nunchucks, he was wrapping around his head, reloading his gun, taking him back out once he ran out of ammo. Like, he was using those nunchucks. This was just a new way to approach like the fight sequences, and I gotta say that was such a good choice. It was so funny, man. It was funny, it was amazing, and I was just at awe of what Keanu has been able to do with the things that he has run. And you could really tell that he's really trained for this environment. It didn't feel like there was a bunch of cuts. There were cuts here and there, but most of the time I felt like it was just one shot after one shot after one shot, and it was amazing. It really added to the exhaustion that you felt. And even as in the movie, you could see him getting exhausted by all these moves he has to do. Even kind of the jiu-jitsu moves he was doing. He was even doing takedowns. He was doing full mounts. Like, he was kind of kicking these guys' asses nonstop, and these guys could not do anything about that. Talk about setting a tone for a movie immediately. This is what's great about this franchise, is that we're getting to the action now. We're not having any time. We know who John Wick is. We got some new characters coming in, but you kind of understand the whole world of it. You will understand that these guys are gonna kill. They're trained mercenaries. They have a code of ethics, but they're not scared to, you know, play a little bit dirty. And here's in those moments that you get to see that. We are introduced to somebody who's hunting down John Wick, another guy who is trying to go for John Wick. We know everything that has happened to the people who tried to kill the Baba Yaga. You know, here comes in Bill Skarsgård, one of the Skarsgård brothers, and is this guy who's super fancy, super elegant, super well dressed, tall, lengthy, you know, but fierce, and very seems like he's gonna do anything he can to kind of gain control of the situation of whatever, you know, John Wick is bringing. He wants to take down John Wick, and he is relentless about it. And does not care who he's willing to kill, and he does not care what it costs. You can even see in the end where there is sense of hesitations of like, oh, am I gonna pay this guy this amount of money? And there's this desperateness by the end of the movie where he's like, you know what, I don't care what it takes. I'm dropping all this money. I'm gonna drop every resource I have to make sure that this guy is dead. And you know exactly, if you've been watching the franchise long enough, that when somebody is that desperate, they're gonna be vulnerable to John Wick. Bill Skarsgård has been really amazing in this movie. He was really able to adapt this character, this villain role. We actually have seen him play like these dark type of greedy characters. I mean, look at It. He was fantastic as the It. And he does justice for a villain type of character as well. Like, even not just a CGI character, but as an embodiment of what it is to be a villain or a bad guy. You could say necessarily everybody is a bad guy because they're doing, you know, really bad shit. But whatever, you know, in the context of it all, right? It's good to see him. He's been one of those guys that I've been enjoying for a while now, over the years, and to see him and now in this movie kind of fulfilling that role, kind of fulfilling that evil presence, he definitely delivers in that sense. And I could see him even further down watching him and becoming a bigger fan here. The elegancy of his suits, the elegancy of the way he kind of carried himself, everything about him definitely kind of was like a very pretentious asshole, let's say. We get introduced to a lot of new characters here. We actually get introduced to one of John Wick's old friend. I guess we get to see him now. He is this kind of blind guy who's been a mercenary, who's now being hired to go against John Wick by Bill Skarsgård's character. And he's like, oh man, John Wick. You know, everybody who's been hired to kill John Wick has felt his presence in a way where it's like menacing. It's like, oh man, I really have to. It's almost trying to face the devil. and we get to introduce, and he's being played by Donnie Yen, which I had to research a little bit and learn that he was the IP man. Like, oh, this is the guy that we've seen in a bunch of kung fu movies, a bunch of action movies. This is the perfect guy. Now put that and have him with no eyesight at all, and he kind of has to just roam around, and he doesn't even have the ability to see. So for him to be a killing machine, it's gonna be interesting to see him a little down the road. It was really fascinating to see the way he kind of moved around the area, the way he was able to kill people. He actually had one of these devices that he had to put against the wall in order to hear the sounds in case enemies came to him. Like, you can tell that he has been fighting like this for a long time now, and he's really efficient at it. It was really cool to see him trying to, attack the soldiers, attack the guys, and kill them all without even being able to see at all, and just pure sound. There was levels of where I was like, oh, come on, like, how did he even hear them coming? Does he know he's there? Did he already predict, like, does he hear everything around him? Like, how exactly does he work, and what does he see? Like, is he kind of like the daredevil where he gets to kind of see the frequencies like a dolphin or whatever? Like, I don't know exactly. They didn't really go too deep into that, but just showing that, it's showing how menacing he is, and he really showed off in that, like a almost like a compact juggernaut, if you will. You could see in this movie that a lot of his friends are starting to suffer the consequences for being John Wick's friend. You could really see how much it is destroying each family he tries to go to. The fact that they're even surrounding himself, and was a fascinating point. And it was actually showing kind of like over the last few movies that, the favors that you ask definitely come with consequences. The dad, there was this character who was the daughter to the manager in Japan, who has to unfortunately see her father die to the arms of Donnie Yen's character, Kane. Kane didn't seem like he wanted to do these things, but he kind of needed to, because he needed to protect his daughter that Bill Skarsgård's character was leveraging over him. None of these guys really want to do what they want to do. They kind of just want to retire. But unlike John Wick, and unlike a lot of these characters who try to do that, there is no retirement. That's the unfortunate part of joining this group of people. And it's really sad that now even puts more pressure on each of his John Wick's friends, that he now has to ask them for favors. And kind of asking for favors is kind of also giving up a lot of your family, giving up yourself at times. And it sucks to see that. It really did. But the fact that whatever John Wick did for them, they really praise him. They really have much respect for him, and that was really shown in this movie. It was so much of what John Wick is encapsulated into this flick, for sure. It really showed how much John Wick really had something to fight for. He wanted his freedom. He wanted revenge. He wanted everybody to realize that he needs to get out of it. And it seemed like everybody else was fighting for it, but they were playing a more political game, where as John Wick was just going to go to the very top and make sure that he will not be messed with. And he definitely did that. We actually get introduced to a new character as well, the Tracker. This guy has been following John Wick for a while now. He almost seems obsessed. We didn't really get to see him in any other movies, but he's now introduced into this movie. It's funny because he actually has a little bit of reflections of John Wick here. He has his dog, he is by himself, and he's kind of like this guy who's been, not on the side of the money and not on the side of John, but kind of in the side of himself. Like, what is going to be beneficial right now? I really need the money, but also I can't get this money unless I also protect John Wick. So he was always dangling on the edge there of like, what should I do? But it almost felt like he kind of also had compassion for him. There was a level of like sympathy going through the movie when it really got down to it, a level of respect. And unfortunately, like everybody else, there is something they need to protect. There is something they need to have, and there's something they are willing to kill for. And so did he. Everybody has a motive, but that doesn't mean during the motive that they can't also realize what is happening in the moment, what is going to help. You couldn't really tell because it was the lines that were being blurred, and it was that amazing writing being told. This is why I gotta say, as much as it is a kind of action flick and kind of just like this, spawn killing type of thing, it is a level of depthness to it, a level of like character development in this movie. And you could definitely see the writing team definitely has, a lot of pat on the backs that they're going to need. As far as the choreography as well, these guys did amazing jobs choreographing everything that was going around them. One of the amazing scenes is the top-down view we got to see. If you guys have catched the movie, you know what I'm talking about. When the camera panned out and it was like a top view of John Wick and seeing him, doing the action action and shooting everybody, and he kind of grabbed this gun with the fire breath. I don't know if you guys ever play Call of Duty, but it's basically the shotgun or this shot that you shoot and just comes like this explosive matter. And you really got to see that in the movie, and it showed more of that in the top-down view, and it was almost kind of this maze-like where he's going through it, and it was just a really unique take on that. It was a really nice way to see that. It almost felt like a video game. I wonder if they felt any way of like, being inspired by that. I'm sure they did. That was one of my favorite scenes out of the movie, and you get to see like, one of the bad guys has been following them around, fell into the tracker's dog, and he's about to shoot him. And then John Wick got the tracker on the floor as well, and he has a choice to make. Does he shoot this guy or does he help the dog out? But knowing John Wick and his past relationship with animals and his love for them, he saved the dog. And I gotta say, maybe the tracker felt kind of owed to him and a gratitude to him for that. One thing I do gotta say about this movie is that because it cost a lot of bodies, because it cost a lot of mercenaries, it did kind of feel at times that a lot of these hired guns felt like stormtroopers in a way. And by that, I mean is that they kind of missed a lot. Now, they did graze them here and there, but most of them just missed. They didn't like do much to him. Like it kind of felt a little bit like, NPC-ish in that sense. And I gotta say, I mean, at this point, I'm just like really nitpicking. I mean, it is what it is. It's an action flick. What are you gonna do, right? Like, what much can you do? People are gonna die, and they're gonna feel that way. They need to go in and out because there's main characters going on. But it did feel kind of like Star Wars-ish in that sense. Overall, this movie was amazing. This movie was beautiful, and I don't know what's gonna happen with the John Wick franchise. And I gotta thank the guys who did everything they could for this franchise. They did everything they could for the series. You guys did an amazing job. I'm excited for whatever's coming. There's a couple of characters in that movie that could do a little bit of spin-offs, could do a little bit of a movie here, maybe a series here. I'm excited for whatever they have coming. I'm so grateful that I got to watch this fantastic movie. This is definitely a top tier movie for sure. I do want to say rest in peace, Lance Reddick. It was a joy to see you on the screen. Thank you for everything you've done. You did an amazing job, and I gotta say thank you, and I hope you rest in peace. But with that being said, I gotta give this movie a straight 10. Let me know what you think in the comments down below of John Wick 4. Were you amazed? Did you dislike it? What did you think? I want to know all your thoughts. And make sure you hit the like button, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.